Hello friends, today we are going to talk about the no money objection. UIPU concept, UIPU. You will be very surprised what is this concept. So this concept is a very interesting concept. As I always tell you that when a customer has a problem of money, you can't give some dialogues and try to convince the customer. You need to give them some very concrete suggestions, certain concrete advice on how they can create the money for your life insurance policy. It's not just, don't be just interested in selling the policy. Be interested in genuinely helping your clients, make arrangements for the money, because that's how you have to help them find the money. And this is one way in which you can help them find the money. I have found this very interesting, very impressive, and people have really liked me as a professional insurance advisor when I go and talk to them about this concept. So UIPU concept is a very, very interesting concept for the no money objection. So when I go to a client, I tell the client, so suppose if I have had this discussion and everything is done and finally he says I don't have the money to buy this life insurance policy. So what I'll tell him, sir, the reason why you don't have money to buy this life insurance policy is because you don't have a proper, you have not created a system for a proper management of money. If you can create a system for proper management of money, you will have money for everything. So, I tell him, so I would like to just give you a very good system which I am using, which helps me to, create money or to have money for all the goals of my life, the financial goals which are there, all my responsibilities, all the goals. I am able to fund them very easily. So I would just like to explain this to you. Is it all right, sir? Is it okay? Yes, of course, the client will say okay. So sir, UIPU is, the meaning of this is that generally it's like 4 quadrants. So you have the first quadrant, which is very urgent expenses. You have the second quadrant, which is very important expenses. You have the third quadrant, which is very popular expenses. And you have the fourth quadrant, which is useless expenses. So sir, the best way to find out whether you are really putting your money in a very proper way, in a scientific way, is to find out this. So what you need to do is you need to make a list of all your expenses. You need to make a list of all your expenses. And my dear friends, agents and development officer friends, this system can work wonders for you. It can work miracles for you. So I wouldn't just tell you that this video is only for your clients and your customers, but it can be very useful for you as insurance agents, because we have to do something better job at money management before we can go and empower other people to do it. So therefore this concept, what we do is we make a list of all our expenses, everything from the rent to the education expenses, the entertainment expenses, the home expenses, the EMI, investment, everything. Just write everything down in detail. The second step is, then you have to designate all these expenses, whether they are urgent expenses, whether they are important expenses, whether they are popular expenses, or whether they are useless expenses. Now if you can identify each of these expense, then you have to write. Now I would like to, Mr. Client, I would like to explain to you what is urgent. So urgent expenses are those expenses which we cannot avoid. They have to be made, that expense has to be made, because if you don't make that payment immediately, there is some consequence, some problem will happen. Like if your mobile bill is to be paid, it's a very urgent expense. If you don't do it, your mobile service may get disconnected, your electricity service can get disconnected. So anything which is legally or which is a service, all these things come under the urgent. So these you should designate as urgent. So just write U in front of all these expenses which are urgent. In the urgent you can have rent, you can have the rent, you will have education, you will have the salaries maybe of your maids and other people. You will have all the things which are all the utility bills. All these things will come under urgent. Then there is important. So urgent very clearly means immediate some consequence, immediate some problem. The second quadrant is called important expenses. Important expenses are expenses which if you don't do now will create some problem in the future. In the future there will be a problem. Like if you don't do investment and saving, sir, in the future you will not be able to maintain your standard of living. You will not be able to have the not to work corpus in place, and because of that your standard of living will get affected. So anything which is related to the future is all important expenses, and generally in the important expenses all the investment and saving related will come. Then you have something called popular expenses. Popular expenses are those expenses which we do to show off to our neighbors and friends and relatives. So that is called as a popular expense. So is there any expense in your list which is a popular expense, which actually is not important, neither urgent, but just it's there because I want to be seen as a very successful person? So you write P against all those expenses, and there are expenses which are useless. Like there are people who have 100 pairs of shoes, which is very useless. There are a lot of things that we do which are useless. So you have to designate that as useless. Now once you have done this, you will be making 4 different lists. I believe 3 different lists, because the 4th one just has to be torn and thrown out. You make the first list which is all urgent expenses, you make the second list which is all important expenses, and you make the third list which is all the popular expenses. And once you have made these 3 lists, what you have to do is a system. Every month, at the end of the month, you find out what's your bank balance in terms of whatever money you have earned. On the first of every month, you will make all the checks for all the urgent expenses. You will make all the checks. However, whenever the due date may be, you don't wait for the due date, you just make the checks. Even if you don't have the bill, just make a check and note down an approximate amount that probably will be part of the bill. Total this amount and then minus it from your bank balance, because then you will know how much more money is left. The second list, once your first list is over, if your first list is not over, then there is no question of going to any list. You just keep them aside, because now you will have to see this list on the first of the following month. But if you are able to take care of all the urgent expenses, then you come to the second list which is important expenses, and one by one make checks for all of them till your bank balance suffices. If the bank balance has enough more money, then you complete all the important list, and then you can go to the third list which is popular list. But more often than not, our second list itself may not get completed in many months. So in those months you have to just stop at that and transfer the balance important things for the next month, and then you can take care of that. In that fashion, if you see, you will be taking care of your most urgent expenses. The second bucket is of important expenses, which is the investment. Sir, if you are able to manage your things like this, you will have very effective way of handling money. You will have much better net worth, and you will be a very happy man. All the stress around finance will be removed, and you just have to sit down once a month to make all those checks, and then there is no reason to worry. Because most people, what they do is they don't know this sequence, and many times they end up not doing the urgent expenses but doing the popular, because they want to show it, and then the urgent expenses gets comes into trouble, and then you have to run around to manage all these things. And specifically this is more related to our insurance agents who really do this. Every month they have to manage. So don't do that. Become a very prudent kind of a person to handle all these things. I hope you have liked this content. If you have liked it, please put it in the comment, because I would like to get feedback. I will feel highly motivated if you find that this content is very good. So please express your opinions very powerfully in these comments. Also let us know on what objection handling videos we should, what topics you would like objection handling videos to be taken up. If we are already doing it, it's fine, but if not, then we will think we will actually really do a video on that. Also let me know any other content or any other topic on which we would like to do, like me to do the videos, and definitely we will do it. If you have any doubts or any confusion around this concept, also please put it in the comment box and we will definitely reply to you. And last but not the least, please don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video with all your development officer and agent friends. They will always feel obliged for you bringing them into this content. Thank you.